this going to stop? You get a response back saying,
you know what? I want to stop you right there. See this guy right here? The squeaky wheel gets greased. Absolutely. So as a parent, if you're not getting the satisfaction you need to feel like your child is coming into a safe space, I can tell you, I know the man because I've known him since he started here. He's not going to ignore your call. And I put myself in this police department. We all know we're not perfect. It's not what we do as much as what we do after we realize we didn't engage correctly, we didn't address the situation correctly. And I'm telling you, you bring up an absolutely valid point. When you have this, that's the other thing. Talking to your child, determining there's a bullying situation that's ongoing. I can guarantee if you can't get it addressed at the school level, guess what? Call the superintendent.
We were informed that they would not be in the same class first grade. Because they were already phased them and going to school in the same individual as the
Here's what I would tell you, just following up with Chief Balbo, give me a call. So we can talk one-on-one specifically about the child. I did want to piggyback, thank you Chief for sharing all of that. When we put out a statement that says, hey, this happened, we want to let you know there will be increased police presence, Safety Stacy calls the chief, and they are always delivering, right? Because they want to inform, they want to be present outside to at least provide a degree of assurance that an extra attention is being provided to the situation. And we have a really super good partnership. They work great with Safety Stacy. And another thing that he mentioned was to see something, say something. We are one of the very few schools in Indiana, when I see very few, I mean like 2 or 3, that have a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week hotline where the reports go to the Say Something anonymous reporting system, and I get calls, and an admin gets calls at all hours of the night, weekends, in the middle of birthday parties. And do you think that we shut it off and save it for 5 hours later? We are immediately grabbing our laptop computers and we're telling our families, I'll be back. I don't know when, but I'll be back. And we are immediately on the phone. Law enforcement is called and we're working the channels. That's a service that Tri-Creek school community has that the overwhelming majority don't have in the state of Indiana. Protocols. We, 2 years ago, revamped our protocols to go to the 3 outs. We wanted them to be simple, easy to remember. Get out, take out, lock out. And they can be in any order. So, get out of harm's way. School goes on lockdown, and we're doing protocols and drills all at the same time. We practice these drills. You get out of harm's way. Lock out into a locked area. We train our kids this. I'm going to tell you another thing that we do in Tri-Creek that many schools across the state don't do. Safety Stacy, did you happen to bring the night lock, or can you at least speak to the night lock and how it... Yeah, why don't you, because you had a big hand in this.
So the first item, as we teach our educators, is to keep our doors locked. That's the most important part. Statistics show that no active shooters ever breached a closed locked door. So we hammer our teachers on keeping your doors locked. It's just so important during educational time that those doors are locked. To give ourselves an extra layer of security, Stacy and I worked pretty hard in everyone's help, Superintendent Anderson, and we were able to get night lock. Has anybody heard about our new night locks on our doors? So we received, or not received, it wasn't a grant, the school paid for it, but I'm not sure how many we purchased. The initial was to at least put one on every educator's doors. It's a really cool, I have one one that I set up for demonstrating. We don't have it here today. Stacy?
Stacy's going to grab it.
Cool. It's just a little small tool. Very simple to use. It's on the side of the door in a little box. You pop it open, slides in the door. Tons of great video. If you guys go to YouTube and kind of just YouTube night lock tools, you can see officers sitting in the door with sledgehammers. Even it's on the bottom of the door too, which really helps because we have windows on our doors. So a lot of times we can break a window and get in and lock a door in. These are borderline impossible to get in. Active shooters historically don't want to work at getting inside of the classroom. They want it to be easy. So this additional stuff, even having a chaplain in the district chief, just makes me a lot more happy. I'm just happy that we have that extra line of defense for our children. Right now, we've installed them. Now we're moving on. Our guidance counselors have them. Even our cafeteria staff have them now. We've worked out different areas for our students. For example, the field house, very large location. I would never expect 15 doors to be night locked. So we move those students to the rest of them where they have 2 doors and plenty of room to be while they're in gym. Here's our night lock.
So what we used to teach was barricade the doors. It's a locked door, but it could be compromised. So shove a bunch of desks, chairs, like build a barricade, right?
Way too much time.
And so
that little red tool, the little key is just on the side of the door, and almost like a little box that flips down. Those are installed on every one of our doors. Every school in our district just locks in the door. It takes less than a second. Very secure. Just again, our teachers are still expected to have their doors locked, but this is just another layer of security for our students. I hate that we have to have it, so hopefully there's no negativity there, but I think it's amazing, and I'm very thankful we have it for our children.
thank you. Get out, lock out, take out. Be with me just a second. So what we've also studied were the cases that happened elsewhere. Basically, it's graphic, right? But it's real. Lining kids up, whether they were college kids at Virginia Tech or in an elementary school, line them up, and the kids sit there and wait for their turn. And you know what I'm talking about. Takeout refers to fighting back. If you know danger is imminent, you do, and this is what we teach our kids, and we need to do a better job of teaching our kids the 3 outs. I heard that at the superintendent's coffee. I left that coffee at the coffee shop, and I went straight to Safety Stacy. Within an hour, said we need to make sure that we have a definitive plan from K through 12 how we're teaching kids. So take out the threat. If the danger's imminent and it's coming towards you, then 30 kids fighting back, grabbing the fire extinguisher, throwing chairs, whatever you can do to defend, to take out the threat, by all means do it. So those are the protocols. Protocols for kids with higher needs. I don't know if any of our counseling staff would like to speak to. Sometimes we have classrooms with students who might be receptive to weird noises or not able to be totally cognizant of or aware of what's really happening. And then we'll get to Ms. Patrick.
So primarily I'm at the Lowell High School, that's where my office is at, so I can kind of speak more in reference to that. But my part is I do meet with all the special needs students, and it's a really hard conversation to have with them because they're some of my best friends in the building. When they see me, it's usually a very positive, very happy situation. So I explain to them during the protocols, they're going to see a whole different side of law enforcement. They're going to see a very direct, we're going to see very angry, and those situations can obviously make it very difficult. So that's just kind of my part in it. I have done it with Miss English also, just same concept where I at least give an understanding of how this is going to happen when the protocols come into play or when an active shooter training or drill event happens.
And that's also an item that we address during the drills, right, with our special needs students or that higher needs. Yeah.
I guess I'm a little bit confused because you mentioned that the protocol protocol he was referring to was the I Love You Guys Foundation.
Now, he indicated that every school has a protocol.
That is the same.
So we go in connection. If you could bring that on up, you'll see this posted within our buildings. And so sometimes there are announcements that are made that are part of protocols. And I'll hold while you explain.
So this is our SRP. Most of the schools in Indiana use
Standard response.
Yeah, standard response protocol. Sorry, no lingo. This is used in most of the Indiana schools. So if we're going to take some kind of an action, depending on what's going on in the school and the community, all our kids are trained on what each of these, different protocols are. First one is hold. Our kids hear that quite a bit in our district. We have a lot of medical issues with some kids, so we may go into a hold to keep everybody where they're at in case we need to bring an ambulance in. We don't have people moving around the hallway, so our kids do kind of get used to the hold quite a bit. We have the secure, we have our lockdown, which we just did a lockdown drill. Within the first 90 days of every school year, you must do a lockdown drill, every school. Evacuations, and then shelter. So this is the SRP for Tri-Creek School Corporation. And like I said, most of the school districts use this, the I Love You Guys Foundation. And a great thing that I want to say to Chief Balboa, which he let us know at our Lake County Safe Schools Commission meeting, is that they are going to the academy and teaching the cadets when they come out that these are the protocols that we use in our districts. Because we don't want an officer coming to our building thinking we're in a lockdown, running in with a gun when we're only in a secure. So I'd like to thank him for doing that for sure, because we want officers to know that these are the things that we use in our building. They need to know this language. So if they hear that.
Chief Babal, is this what you were referring to with the protocols in Lake County?
Yes.
Yeah.
Protocol.
And you'll see
Every
we've got
school
one
in Lake County. And let me tell you something. We also, as police officers, we train our officers on what's going on in the school when we're en route, so we know what's going on inside the building, and then we're dealing and training with the staff in school, so they know what we're going to do when we get there. It's a really coordinated effort and a great partnership.
I do have one follow-up. Are drills being practiced throughout the district during unstructured time, so like when my daughter's at recess or at lunch? Are drills being practiced throughout the building during those times so kids know what to do?
No, we have not done one of those. We've actually talked about doing that, and that is something our district needs to do.
So for fire drills, I have absolutely no problem with that. For armed intruder drills, this is something that we've recently talked about. I am not a proponent, and I'll make it very clear, of doing an unannounced armed intruder drill. When was the last time that you heard of someone dying because there was a fire at school? When was the last time you heard someone dying because of an armed intruder? And unfortunately, within the last week, and the week before, and the week before. I am not a proponent of unannounced armed intruder drills, because when it is unannounced, you don't know whether it's real or not real, and that to me is not the time for everybody to get on their cell phone and start blowing things up the wrong term. Start communicating and getting people on edge. Is this real or not real? When you've got a kid or a staff person in a room that don't know that this is a drill, I don't want to go down that road. Why would we create all of that anxiety? People coming to the school to pick their kid up. To me, unless there's a law that mandates that, I'm very reluctant to do that.
I agree. I said unstructured time, not unannounced.
Okay, so, but that would...
Drilled like 15 times, my son said, but he said drill, 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 drill. So he can still do that, but I asked him what he would do if he was in the hallway. He said, I have no clue.
Right.
He said the door would be closed to the nearest classroom.
So, what we would do is make sure that we announce it and then find a time that we would do that during unstructured time. That would be very good practice to do. Do it during a lunch period or a passing period. No objection to that. Have we done it? No? Does that mean that we won't? No, I think it's a great idea.
But we will announce it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yep.
We follow the process.
Which one?
Parent community involvement.
Yes. So let's come back to that, uncross that. I felt like Chief Balbo spoke to that, but we'll come back to that.
Well, I'd like to follow up with some of the things that you mentioned.
Okay.
Is there a way for the district to provide a section on the website or somewhere for parents to know where to go if they are noticing unusual behaviors for their students, as who to contact at their kid's school, what to look for if, maybe it's just a boyfriend, girlfriend broke up and they're upset, but it's not something that warrants a, hey, see something, say something. We don't have that kind of option. Or know where to go if we need to say, hey, they're feeling particularly upset this week. How do we go about that?
We can definitely put a resource page on our website. I would say, last resort, pick up the phone, contact a teacher, email a teacher, contact an administrator, and just get it started. But we can provide a resource for sure. Something easy. Okay.
For parents, because we're all super busy. And the kids are super busy, and the teachers are super busy, and everybody's super busy. The ease of which we can contact people and they can respond is something I think we all need to look on.
We can do that. I would say if it's to a degree of concern, like you might give us a heads up because maybe we're seeing things at school, and that goes back to see something, say something, hey, something's not right here, and that's a connection of the dot.
We also need that information as parents too. And I don't expect our teachers to be counselors because they're dealing with enough on their plate as it is. And they need the support too, but sometimes the communication gets missed just through attendees.
On the website though, we have to update it because, well, not me, but you have to update it. Because on the safety portion of it, if you go to the bullying platform, you click on bullying, it goes to the whole Department of Education website.
Okay.
It says this link is no longer available as of 2023. So then you have to click on that link, and then it takes you to the new portal for the state. So we should probably squash that out of the same. Just
That's
get rid
good
of
to
that.
know.
It's old, like 2 years old. But going back to the protocols, you have the 3 outs and then you have standard response protocols, right? And I went to the coffee shop with you and had the conversation with a dozen of the parents. And that was like, 3 weeks into the school year. And I had mentioned then that at the high school, they had not done any drills except for a fire drill. So the other drills, and I'm not talking about lockdown drill or a fire drill, those are too easy. But what about the other drills, the other protocols that are on there, the 3 other safety actions? Have they been taught those yet? Because I don't think they have. They had 2 high school kids, and they don't know.
We've done a hold for sure. We do those. Well, we've had many of those. Secures, we've not had, but that really is more of an announcement, basically saying, hey, we're under a secure, and no one's in or out of the building. So I'm not certain what we would do it drill-wise with that.
What I'm saying, have they been taught them? I know you guys are doing the drills, but they need to be taught what's going on.
They don't know what the drills are for.
Just like
We're in a
poster.
lockdown drill, but they don't know. So say God forbid something is happening, these kids are gonna freak out hearing things in the hallway because they don't know what the lockdown drill is. To them, we sit here and we're quiet for a few minutes. I think at age appropriate levels, we need to be expressing to the students what the drill is for.
I think we actually have started doing that.
We don't want out of advisories. We're at the high school, I think.
I believe at the high school that went out in advisory lessons, and we also, after our lockdown drill, we announced it, we talked about it beforehand with them, and then we asked the teachers to talk with them as well.
My 5th grader had no idea what happened.
Okay.
And I guess.
Yeah, when
That's
they
another-
were locked down. And he goes, I don't know, we just sat there. I mean,
Hey, never hurts to circle back around. We talked about the protocols that led to the notifications. We talked about the high needs. Past record follow-up. So I think this is contextual. Depends on the circumstance. Depends if there was probation. Depends on how severe. As you know, you have stages of life in elementary and then going into adolescent years, and each one is different than the other, and then the maturity that then takes place. And so, who was the one that had? So I honestly don't know the degree of follow-up, but that is certainly a great topic that we should talk about, unless you've already.
Yeah. So, like I said, we determine a level of intervention. So, it depending on, like you said, every situation we take individually. But it can be a weekly follow-up. We can refer to outside resources. We'll get a release of information signed by the parents so we can communicate with those outside resources to make sure that the treatment is being followed, and that we can employ some of those coping skills, new strategies, those kinds of things in the building with the student, as well as what they're learning in their mental health experience outside of school. Sometimes if there's discipline, they'll have an ongoing conversation with the student. If we need to search, we'll search. So there's just a different level of protocols and different types of situations, or different types of interventions for every situation. But sometimes, most often, we'll put together an organized safety plan. It's shared with all the teachers. We have a conference with the whole team that deals with the counselor, the teachers, the admin, that work with the student, extracurricular supervisors. They'll come in, we'll discuss kind of what we're looking for, what we're seeing, what the problem behavior is, what the response is, who to contact, and we do a safety plan. And then those follow the student for as long as we think it's appropriate. So we do review those. We will renew them, or whatever you want to call it, year to year if it's appropriate. They travel with the student throughout our district. So like we're at the high school, so if an 8th grader comes in with a safety plan, we renew that. At the high school, we have a conversation with the family, check in, see where things are. So, I mean, the details of those plans are a little bit different for every kid, but if we're to the point where we're doing, maybe not so much for bullying, but if we're doing a personal or school safety risk assessment, we are doing a safety plan for that student for at least a period of time.
I'll add, if the student does see an outside therapist and the parent or guardian is comfortable, there's something called a release of information, and then at that point, your school's counselor can then speak with that outside therapist. Because the way I explain it to my students is, they're the president, I'm the vice president, they're the doctor, I'm the nurse, right? Like, they're driving the bus, but I want to support what you and Miss Julie are working on Tuesday nights after school. So if your student does see an outside therapist and you're comfortable with highlighting a couple of things you want that individual to share with your student's counselor, you can ask for a release of information, and we're happy to partner with those outside professionals. So then we're not mixing treatment plans. We want to follow what they're doing, and that's why I say it's president, vice president, so then we can have that continuity of care and support.
Want to make sure that you give due diligence to the mental health support, just playing off of that. I believe there was somewhere over here, someone may have said we need more in our schools. So we currently have our staff, and then we also have business partnerships with Crown Counseling, as well as the Behavior Specialist of Indiana. And we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in those partnerships. As in every sector of our society, they're typically not enough to go around. Personnel, funding. We do spend quite a bit on that front. We do believe it's important. We do try to provide as much service to the extent possible. When cases get severe beyond our scope, then we have meetings with families to talk about how can we make this happen. bus stops. When you talk about community engagement, I think that's an opportunity for community engagement. We currently, I'm looking at Ms. Malcarrick, how many recess and lunch supervisors are you short right now?
3.
And that's during the school day.
Correct. 3 hours a day.
So if anybody here wants to volunteer or sign up, please see us afterwards. I can't imagine what the school, how we would provide supervision at bus stops other than to plead for the community for parents to go out there and help.
I will say that our school buses themselves are very advanced when it comes to our video footage. A lot of what I do is based off those video footages. Chief, I want to say we're at, last year alone, I think we wrote over 250 stop arm violation citations based on our school bus video footage. I know that doesn't really help the bus stop itself when the bus isn't there, so again, it doesn't really answer the question besides.
Always watching, we're gonna find you.
I
know I went off track there, but it also goes from inside the bus. I mean, I've got great video of kids screaming terrible things at me from inside the bus. So like we have great video on the bus also. So we've had I filed tons of criminal charges for battery, drugs that I can see specifically the students on the school buses.
When I say community engagement at bus stops, I'm not encouraging in any way, shape, or form from parent of one student engaging with the kid of another set of parents. I'm talking about a set of eyes and making sure that things are going the way they should be. And if they don't, then that parent's calling 911, that parent's calling the school, that parent is informing the bus driver so that we can look into that. It would never, unless it's a life-threatening situation, engage with somebody else's child.
It's about the bus.
I'm sorry?
It's about the bus. I'm
About-
raising my hand about the bus thing.
The bus thing.
You're talking about the bus, right?
Yes.
Okay, I do see plenty of local cops follow the bus, I appreciate that. I would like to see more presence, and I want to know if there's something I could do to not have my kids cross a busy street with flying spots, you know, if I'm on a hilly road, Colfax Street, in Lakedale, I mean, people fly down it, so when I see a cop, I'm really happy, but many days it's not a cop, and should a child have to, an elementary school child, cross a street to get on their bus?
So I'm in charge of extra patrols for the local police department. If there's a situation you want extra coverage on,
Yeah.
it'd be for months, and please reach out to us.
Okay, and your name again?
What's that?
Your name again, or how?
I'm Corporal Burkus, and again, that's for if you live in town. If you're in Lakedale, it's gonna be county's service area. And when you see local officers out there all the time. And unfortunately, for that situation, that is Lake County's service area, as we say. But that goes for everybody else. I mean, if you see something that needs extra patrols with a school bus situation, give us a call. I'll put it in my officers. You'll have an extra officer there. They come by several times in their shift, whether it's vacation checks or whatever.
And I just wanted to add real quick.
Sure.
Sorry. I would reach out to the bus barn or talk to your bus driver. Sometimes they are able to change up the route. Yeah, they changed mine. I mean, this was years ago when my kids were on Belshaw, so that they didn't have to cross Belshaw, and the bus driver was able to back into a street. So I would reach out to the bus barn too and just see, let them know your concerns. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee.
Last year they were on the bus together, but now that Dean moved on, I'm a little nervous about sending Eve across that street, especially when there's a blind spot on each side.
It might help, it might not, but it's okay. It's something you can try. Yep.
Can I add something to the bus? Because I have seen it by our house. We were having problems with the stop signs and people blowing them in the bus. I was driving my kids the other day and I see a few bus, and I don't know if you guys can communicate this to all the bus drivers. The bus was kind of like when it stopped, it wasn't like this, it was like vertical, kind of blocking the street. So the cars behind the bus and in front of the bus couldn't just blow through the bus. didn't like seeing it. I was driving behind the bus. I was gonna stop regardless. But I liked that they were blocking the street so the kids could cross and not be like in harm's way.
I've seen buses do that.
So I don't know if they can be told, like all the bus drivers to do it, so that she doesn't have to worry about that. I don't know.
At my kids' stop, the high school and the elementary, they both pull it sideways, the block, pull everything.
Right, that's what I see.
So, yeah.
I don't know. You guys can communicate that.
I'm not the authority to say whether that's doable or not. It sounds great. I've seen it. But I'm not going to comment on it. But I would share it. And if that's something that we're allowed to do, maybe it's something we then need to do across.
But I promise you though, if you know a time frame, again, we have 3 officers for 12,000 people, give or take. They're busy. But if you give me a time frame, let's say it's 7:30 in the morning, I promise you, you'll have an officer sitting there for a couple of weeks just hammering that intersection.
Ours actually stopped by our subdivision because it was a case. Everybody around put videos, and for like at least a month, I was seeing one of you guys behind the bus every single morning, which I appreciate. Sure. And we haven't had a problem since. But I would just work, so that she.
Talk to your neighbors because they're the ones doing it too. That's the worst part about it.
Oh yes, it was a neighbor.
They will stop that pretty quickly too. Shame.
Safe visitor check-in. Elaborate.
I thought you guys got rid of that, did you not?
We did. It was part of our budget reduction. We looked at all the major school shootings and could not find one where someone's willfully presenting an ID and that forwarding a school tragedy. If there's anybody that's aware of that.
Well, I mean, it's not just the school shooting. I mean, there could be other issues, like with the safe visitor, red flags for someone if they're a sex offender. They red flag somebody for the local police department, sheriff department, says, hey, this person's not allowed to be around a certain person because there's a protection order. It also red flags people for, like, if there's a parent and there's a discrepancy between the family, they're going through family court, you can put that parent statement in there because they're not allowed to be near the family. That's another one. Or there's other red flags you could have. The only way you'll know those situations if the red flag in that particular system. So if somebody at the front door lets somebody in, because I've had this in the schools that I've worked at, and now we have a parent that's walking the halls that's not supposed to be there because they have a protection order, and they're checking out their kid, which none of the office staff knows that they're not even supposed to be with that kid right now. That's a major problem. Yeah, so it's called accountability. So, I mean, you have to have accountability who's in your building, why they're there, when they leave your building. It's all part of safe visitor.
All of our visitors who enter our building are with an escort unless they've already had a background check. Yes, ma'am.
So I will say my comment on that is here at Lowell Middle School, last year and the year before, I can walk up to the door and I get buzzed in without anybody asking me any questions. I just walk up to the door. My first time ever being here, we just moved here from Crown Point, got buzzed in. I carry a backpack as a purse. I get it. What am I gonna do? Like, you guys don't know that.
Again, let's go back to case studies, right? And
but then you're open. Literally, that door was open when I walked in here 2 times. Access to the kids.
okay, so I'm not speaking to the open door, but I'll speak to the intercom system. If somebody comes up and says, I'm a parent of so-and-so, and they could get so-and-so's name off the internet from anywhere, and we're going to give access, right? Because we don't have people going out to the door, show me your ID. So anybody can lie. Is that making our schools safer?
No, but we came from Crown Point and you couldn't get anywhere close to the doors are locked. Someone's on an intercom asking you questions. Who are you here to see? Why are you here? And you have to pre-call before you do anything.
Again, we've talked about this. If it actually makes our schools safer, sign us up. But anybody can lie. And so so that conversation, actually, we're trying to make our schools community friendly, community centric, to build relationships. So after each vestibule, you can't walk on into the school because it's a locked vestibule. You are forced into the office to have that face-to-face conversation. There's a false sense of security out there that because I'm speaking to a speaker and I'm telling you who I am, we have no verification of that. And so in the spirit of, again, being community-centric and having that good face-to-face interaction, that's why we do what we do.
Can I add something to it? Same thing, you know, many times it was buzzing, but then when you get in the office, and the secretary would be there talking to 2 or 3 kids, not paying me attention. You know, when the office was over here, the nurse's office was there. There was kids in there all the time, nothing stopping me from walking and doing whatever I wanted, basically. So
I can't debate that, but again, going back to the case studies of really why we're all here, that's not how it happens.
Well, I understand that, but somebody needs to be paying attention to the strangers that are walking.
I would say those adults, if they're speaking to 2 kids and you're standing there waiting to be addressed, if you were to go on and go through the school, I would certainly hope that an adult would realize that and then initiate the hold or the secure for the school. That needs to happen right then.
But they should never get to that point. I can't see that.
We would never want it to get to that point.
Right, but we're going to let someone walk.
Which is also why we practice locked doors throughout the building. And in fact, Stacy is the one that implemented just last year that wall divider being closed during all of our lunches because she quickly identified, hey, we got a lot of kids in here, we really need to tighten this up, and we did. So we don't ever claim to be perfect. We're always looking for ways. The ideas that have been presented tonight have been good because we're all on the same team. This is our community, and going back to working together, absolutely.
You didn't answer the question. For the safe visitor though. I was asking, did you have whatever you guys are using now? Or does it still keep track of all that stuff?
So we get, I think they're monthly reports from the sex offender list. Everybody checks in, nobody is escorted, nobody goes through the building without an escort unless they have a thorough background check by themselves.
But if somebody comes in and say there's a restraining, there's a protected order, he cannot go near the children.
Well,
are you going to be, if the parent has notified the school, is there something that's going to alert whoever's sitting at that desk not to go walk that individual?
Yes, we have notes in our Skyward system, protective order. So-and-so is not to have contact. And so upon check-in, when that is brought up, yes.
We're typically always called in also just to diffuse the situation. I mean, just last week, we got 2 years old. We have 2 parents that show up. He's going with me. Dad doesn't have custody, or mom doesn't have custody. Usually we'll come in and intervene and move that situation with the school, try to help, look for paperwork, more paperwork specifically.
Construction workers, I don't know who's on the, if doors are propped open.
Usually it's brought to our attention quickly and I handle it quickly. Obviously that's something that.
I think the unknowns are,
very much
is there someone inside that's monitoring that as they're bringing in lumber and equipment? I can't speak specifically to that because I'm sure every one of those situations are different, but if you have a concern, see something, say something, like report it.
Please call me. I mean, my office is in the high school. If you see a door open at any time at the high school or any school, I'll take care of it quickly. I'll call the general foreman, Jason Bachman, our maintenance will handle it very quickly for us. It's not something that's acceptable at all. That door should never be propped. There should never be a book. There should never be a rock in that door. That's absolutely something that boils my blood. So trust me, I'm on your team with that. I haven't seen it since early last year when we started construction. I handled it quickly. If someone saw it recently, did someone actually see it recently?
No, last year we saw it.
Cool. I mean, but still, if you see it, because we're still fixing all of our buildings up. If you see something, by all means, I need to know quickly. That's not one of those things. Let's wait for meetings. Let me handle it quickly for you, and I will.
So I guess I'd like to move to the building being unlocked after school, and that would be talking about doors. For a long time, like my kids would know the coach would be there to let them in. I guess I'm just curious as to what the reasoning is behind keeping the doors unlocked, because to me that just says a student could come in and put a gun in their locker and nobody's gonna know.
Or the guy that you referenced earlier, the baseball stabber, right? How do we know he couldn't just walk right in the building, because the doors are unlocked at that time?
So, our buildings are open well, our building was open today for the volleyball event.
But if there's no official event where parents should be in, and it's just a practice, most schools practice that the doors are locked. I guess I'm just curious as to why, like, this.
So for outside organizations who rent our facility, they're not a school organization. And the feedback that we heard was, okay, I'm the group leader of the organization. I'm showing up, the custodian lets me in the locked door, and I arrive 15 minutes before the scheduled practice time. And then people are filtering in, and then practice begins. And now I've got 20 kids in front of me that I'm focusing on. What was happening is all throughout our district, depending on which building was being rented out, people were propping doors open. Why? Because, as you know, as parents, life gets hectic. You might be 5 minutes late to the Pop Warner basketball practice, or 10 minutes, or 15 minutes. And what was happening is they're beating on the door, nobody can hear, they can't get a hold of the cell phone, and so it was this constant frustration. And so then people would resort to, as I indicated, propping doors open, and then what difference is that making? And so the outside organization that is in charge of those kids, that's not Tri-Creek's kids that we're in charge of. They're part of our community. Of course we don't want anything bad to happen. But for those organizations, us changing our protocol to programming them open, and it's just the door that of the room that they're in. Plus we have hallway doors that are locked. We've got cameras all over our facilities. Our facilities are open for basketball games. We go to high school, probably even tonight. There could be something in the auditorium, the main gym, the field house, and the building is open and everybody is walking by lockers. So we've had hour-long conversations about that. Again, being community-centric, community-friendly, but being prudent about school safety, and it's a balance. And so that's why we practice what we practice. Yes, ma'am.
If I can touch on, I think too, when it comes to any situation, if there's a will, there's a way, right? So even like somewhere where you think like a jail, it's secure, it's supposed to be extremely secure. There are inmates, there are people, if there's a will, there's a way. And I think that falls back on us as parents, like you said, coming together and just paying attention to our kids and other people's kids as well. I think just taking a little bit from everything and putting it together. And also too, since Stacy has been employed through Tri-Creek, there's just been like a great influx in, I think, safety protocols from things that I've learned about with her, and even the school resource officers, they're all on a big texting basis where they can communicate with each other and inform each other real time what's happening, things that are happening with kids, etc. And again, that just falls back down to, I think, like, if there's a will, there's a way, and that's probably not the right answer, to be fair.
I think we missed out on the introductions at the beginning. This is Maureen Picari, and Maureen works for Chief Balboa at the county, and we appreciate the partnership because she also serves as a school resource officer oftentimes when Corporal Burkus is conducting SWAT training and such, and so we appreciate you being a part of us.
And I think another huge thing too is the little things when our kids have access to social media, they have access to texting and talking to their friends, just like we did when we were younger. We were able to pick up the phone and call our friends. However, I just think kids are, just like us, we have instant access to information, whether it's completely vetted or not vetted. I mean, as becoming a law enforcement officer, it's become clear how quickly things, people will talk to you and say, I heard X, Y, Z, and that's like the farthest thing from what actually happened. So just taking that into consideration,
And also to, you know, monitoring those text messages. I was just working at Oak Hill Elementary recently, and there was a report. There was, you know, I'm not going to share too much, but a guy outside with a chainsaw, and the third graders saw it. So we went outside. It was a tire out in the woods. I mean, the farthest thing from, but I mean, the information spread like a wildfire. And I'm in the next period lunch, and we got kids crying, and you know it's a difficult thing to combat when I think those cell phones can reach other students, parents a lot quicker than the school can. So just keeping that in mind to just be so. You've got to be monitoring those phones. You've got to be monitoring the text messages. My child included. I think she's great, and you know, but there's things that she does that, you know, after the incident that occurred at the baseball field, they're in a chat, you know, texting each other, and
goes back to see something, say something.
Goes back to see something,
right?
say something. So I mean, I think we're really doing our best in the safety aspect is coming together. I've had the opportunity to work alongside other schools, and I think Tri-Creek is doing a really fantastic job on the safety aspect. So just keep that in mind.
So let's tie that into the after-school events. I think it was someone on this side. No.
I just had a quick question on that. Is there any protocol going to, like, do the evening custodians do like a building sweep on their way out, or like the first step, and in the morning do a building sweep? Like that's kind of standard safety protocol. But
So actual building sweep. As employees walk through the building, there are things that are normal, right? So if there's ever anything that looks abnormal, are we going to sweep and check every locker?
well, no, I just thought like you know, just say this classroom door was open while there is a basketball game. Does somebody go in there and check that classroom and lock it before leaving the building at night? Like that kind of a situation.
Can't speak for every individual, but this would be an assumption. There were a door open and a custodian came along and saw the door open. I'm guessing they would walk in to see if the teacher were around or if anybody was around. If not, they'd probably shut the lights off, lock the door, and be on their
It
way.
seems like a simple like.
They're very good at responding.
Last night,
They're very, I mean,
personality
just last
protocol.
week, one of our custodians brought an earth bowl into my office. It was something that small. Just wanted me to be aware of it. I mean, just to give you an example.
I just worked at a bank, so like that's my mindset. Like the last person out did a sweep, the first person in did a sweep. So like I know that these are way bigger facilities, but I just wondered if there's any.
Do we have an absolute protocol of people purposefully? Maybe that's something we should consider, but at the end of the night, if you want to hang around until 11 o'clock tonight and we can watch, I'm going to venture to say that it's worthy of a conversation that they're walking through, but it doesn't hurt to talk about it. It's actually a good thing. After school events, I felt like it was someone from this side. Oh, okay.
I really appreciate when I see the police officers at events. Can we not bring up the big guns at the band concerts?
That's a great comment. I see your concern. We are a lot more capable of ridiculous. Is that the nicest way I can say that?
I understand.
Yeah, sure.
I understand that we're watching an officer walk around and feel
visibly, I can see your concern. I really do. It's always been my concern too. I've always brought it up with the chief. I brought it up with Amy, but we are in those tight quarters. I'm more capable with that level of night. It's fine. But I understand that it did, and I wish we didn't have to have these conversations with our children that we're having now. And I wish that you didn't have to see that. I truly do. I don't know how to make that better. That's just make you understand that we're trained, and we're more capable. Is that okay?
Hey, like firefighter showed up at your house, put on fire, you got out with a little extinguisher. Probably wouldn't feel that great.
I understand.
And that's kind of where we're at.
When it's
our fire hose.
I guess being able to explain that is a lot more understanding.
Trust me,
just watching you guys walk around when we had the band concerts in the gym,
I take it into consideration. I really do. Usually I'm more selective on the officers I choose. But I do grasp the visual there. That's like, this is a happy time, this is graduation. And I do understand that. I understand that this is taken away from that child graduating or several other events we do. But I promise you that accuracy-wise, abilities.
I guess in my mind too, it's the big guns are here because it has their benefit threatening.
Sure.
And that is.
So maybe a little bit more communication prior to these events. Yeah. Possibly like, okay, you may see this. There's not a. I see what you're saying. There's not a higher level of security. We didn't get any kind of threat, but we're here just in case. We can handle it quicker.
So we did have that at graduation this past year. You know, some people don't like the big guns, right, to be seen. But I'm going to tell you, as a superintendent, and I think a lot of reflective of a lot of parents in the community, they're okay with these individuals having those sniper rifles. You probably saw them at the Lowell Labor Day Parade and on the rooftops. We supported that.
No,
I prefer them having it than bad people having them, so please, by all means,
And then
defend us.
outside supervision of police, I think that was really a morning drop off. Stacy has coordinated school resource officers through the Lowell Police Department that when they are off work, then they work for us for a particular shift. And depending on the shift, depends on the school, sometimes they're there outside, sometimes they're inside. I don't know what else to say. What was the question?
I guess I drive by 3 Creeks a lot, and I always see an officer's car there. Like,
my son goes there, so
pretty much all day long. But then you go and pass the hill, and I know officer guys go there. I mean,
so
like, there's everyone there.
So the way the scheduling works is, all right, yeah.
I guess I just, as a child that has I have a child here, I think that more is likely to happen in a building like this in high school, and that kind of presence.
Stacy's in the building armed.
And I know Stacy's here, but she doesn't have a car set out front. Like, I just feel like that's a deterrent.
The visual, I get that.
Yeah.
Where the high school has.
And as a parent, it makes me feel better to see an officer's car sitting there.
We always want you to know. So I mean, if I'm planning something, well, I've got that there. So that's why they vary with the car. Sometimes they're front, sometimes the hours change. We don't really, kind of benefits we don't want necessarily people to know.
I guess this building just makes me nervous because it's right. I feel like it's an open for a bit. Sure. I just would not feel that way. So I think that like somebody driving by a Belshaw, seeing an officer's car sitting here.
May change their direction. Yeah. I understand that. I do.
That's just how I feel.
I think the guys, our officers, I think we have 14 or so, 15 or so officers that are SRO trained. The state mandates that. DC works their butt off. This is all paid by a state grant for our officers to be paid to be in the building, correct?
It's a combination of local funds and grant funding.
The guys are loving it. I'm in the building 5 days a week at the Lowell High School. That's where my office is, but they're all trying their best to fill in, like, you know, at 3 Creeks, Oakville, like very in the middle school. They're doing a pretty decent job, and I'm thankful that that's even happening. In a perfect world, we have an SRO 5 days a week, 7:30 to 3:30, like in the high school in every building, but I think we're working there. We're getting close to that. I mean, it's amazing compared to, again, I've been in this town for almost 19 years, 11 years as the SRO, and up until 2 years ago, this was it. If Lake Prairie needed me or 3 Creeks needed me, I would leave the high school and I would go there. And that was it. I was bouncing around 5 schools, but now it's been all in. It can always be better. I grasp that. But right now, pretty excited for how my child is protected and all the guys I trust in there.
I do want to comment, though, I have noticed, you have a prominent spot at the high school. There's a prominent spot at 3 Creeks, so you can see it. And when I've been here in the middle of the day, when an officer has been here, they're not in a prominent spot, they're just in a spot. And so, you know, even if we prioritize a spot, but there a lot of times when I have been here, I've seen them here in the middle afternoon times.
And then I don't know. I mean, they could be on the middle school side, and we don't see that on the intermediate side too. So
yeah, so that might be a way to.
I just think that the visual goes a long way.
Great, absolutely does. Chief Balboa, have someone here every day, please.
I think Stacy needs a car.
being very cognizant of time and that we've run through our agenda, I do want to bring it to a close. Anybody else who has more information to talk through, we'll stay as long as you like. But thank you for coming out. Hopefully you have a better understanding of what happens in our schools and how we respond, and maybe you learned a thing or two. And hopefully that helps to some degree. Even if you don't agree with it, at least you know the thought process of where we're coming from and what we're working with. So thank you, everybody. And as always, if you see something,
say something. Thank you for what you're doing.
We appreciate that. We don't get that very often.